Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. The next 2 weeks in Genoa City explode into an unrelenting storm of secrets, betrayals, desperate confessions, and devastating reversals as January 5th through January 16th, 2025, becomes a crucible that reshapes every legacy on the young and the restless, beginning with a chilling silence that hangs over the Newman ranch when Victor senses, before any phone rings, before any siren screams, that something is profoundly wrong. And that instinct proves horrifyingly correct as Nick's fate sends shockwaves through the city, leaving Nicky unraveling between grief and fury, Sharon collapsing under the weight of unfinished words and unresolved love, and Victoria forced into iron resolve as she assumes control while secretly fearing that the Newman empire is cursed by its own blood. Yet as tears fall and accusations swirl, clues surface that Nick's death or disappearance, depending on who is telling the story, was not an accident at all. And whispers of bruises, altered timelines, and a mysterious vehicle ignite a covert investigation led by Victor himself, whose quiet promise of vengeance is far more terrifying than any public outburst. While across town Phyllis refuses to mourn quietly, instead weaponizing her grief into a reckless crusade for truth that pulls Daniel into dangerous territory and forces Summer to choose between protecting her family and exposing a monster. Even as Phyllis's unexpected closeness to a shadowy ally sets off alarms for Lily, who believes, with growing dread, that Phyllis is laying a trap so elaborate it could destroy multiple lives, and Lily's attempt to outmaneuver her only tightens the noose, especially when corporate secrets at Chancellor Winters intertwine with personal vendettas, leading to a boardroom ambush that leaves Devon stunned, Nate conflicted, and Billy spiraling as old wounds reopen and new betrayals cut deeper, while Jack Abbott, haunted by a letter that refuses to stay buried, begins to realize that his long-standing belief in redemption may be the very weakness someone is exploiting, particularly when evidence surfaces suggesting a plan so calculated it required Jack's trust from the very beginning. And as Diane senses the ground shifting beneath her feet, she fights to hold the family together, unaware that Kyle is already questioning loyalties and considering a move that could fracture the Abbotts permanently. Meanwhile, Mariah's world implodes when past choices collide with present consequences, forcing her into a devastating decision that could cost her her freedom and her family. And Tessa, torn between love and disbelief, must confront a truth that threatens to erase the future they planned, while Lucy's pain manifests in an explosive confrontation that shatters Daniel's composure and exposes how deeply the sins of the parents are scarring the next generation. And as Genoa City reels a shocking return, someone long believed gone, sends a ripple of terror and hope through multiple storylines, delivering 3 simple but earth-shattering truths that upend relationships, ignite breakups, and confirm that nothing in this town ever stays buried. Not secrets, not bodies, not guilt, and as the walls close in, alliances shift with dizzying speed. Nicky slaps down an unspeakable plan to protect Victor, only to realize that saving him may mean losing Nick all over again. Sharon uncovers a piece of the puzzle that forces her to question whether the man she loved was trying to protect her to the very end, and Victoria discovers that power comes with a price she may not be willing to pay, while Adam, circling the chaos like a dark star, sees opportunity in tragedy and makes a move so bold it threatens to rewrite the Newman hierarchy forever. Yet even as power plays dominate the headlines, quieter moments cut the deepest, final voicemails, unread texts, a child asking a question no adult can answer, a wedding ring left behind like an accusation, until the investigation reaches a terrifying crossroads where the truth about Nick, Matt, and a deadly sequence of events begins to emerge, pointing to a confrontation that spiraled out of control and a cover-up that required more than one accomplice. And as Victor closes in, his methods grow ruthless, drawing the attention of law enforcement and putting innocent people in danger. While Phyllis realizes too late that the trap she set may snap back on her, Lily faces the possibility that her instincts were right but her timing fatally wrong, and Jack must decide whether exposing the truth will save his family or destroy it, all culminating in a final week where arrests loom, confessions are teased but not yet spoken, a surprise kiss ignites scandal amid mourning, and a gunshot, or something just as final, echoes into the night, leaving Genoa City frozen on the edge of revelation as January 16th closes with one undeniable truth. The fallout from these 2 weeks will not fade. The dead will not rest. The guilty will not escape, and when the truth finally comes fully into the light, no one, Newman, Abbott, Chancellor or otherwise, will emerge unchanged. The next chapter opens in the suffocating aftermath of the gunshot, or the metallic echo that everyone swears was a gunshot, reverberating through Genoa City like a collective heartbeat gone wrong. As sirens bleed into the night and the truth, still half hidden, begins clawing its way to the surface, with Victor standing in the cold, unflinching and terrifyingly calm as Newman's security fans out under his silent command, because whatever just happened was never meant to be public and never meant to be stopped, while Nikki, shaken to her core, realizes the cost of loyalty has finally eclipsed the comfort of denial and that protecting Victor may require betraying someone she loves, perhaps forever. And Sharon, drawn back to the scene by a gnawing sense of unfinished destiny, discovers a final clue Nick left behind. An object small enough to be dismissed but heavy with meaning, that reframes everything she thought she knew about his last hours, suggesting not just fear but foresight, not just desperation but a plan. And as that realization dawns, she understands Nick may have been setting a trap of his own, one designed to expose the person he believed was most capable of destroying them all, while across town Phyllis, blood on her sleeve and adrenaline in her veins, locks eyes with Lily in a confrontation so charged it crackles, each woman convinced the other crossed an unforgivable line, yet neither realizing they have both been maneuvered by the same unseen hand. As corporate files leak at the worst possible moment, triggering a chain reaction that sends Chancellor Winter's stock plummeting and forces Devon into an impossible decision that pits legacy against survival, Nate against integrity, and leaves Billy raging at a system that always seems to reward the liars and punish the loyal, while Jack Abbott, piecing together timelines and motives with mounting dread, confronts the horrifying possibility that the letter he once dismissed as grief-fueled paranoia was in fact a confession written in fear, implicating not one but several people in a web of silence that stretches back months. And when Jack finally brings this to Diane, the look on her face tells him she already knew something was wrong, but not how deep the rot went, not how close it was to destroying their family. As Kyle overhears fragments of a conversation he was never meant to hear, and makes a choice that feels like self-preservation but may ultimately be betrayal, setting him on a collision course with Victor that no one can stop. Meanwhile, Mariah's fate teeters as law enforcement closes in, the weight of circumstantial evidence threatening to crush her, and when she finally breaks down and admits to Tessa that she lied, not about everything but about enough, their love fractures under the strain, each crack echoing the larger truth that honesty in Genoa City always arrives too late, while Lucy's grief explodes into a reckless act that forces Daniel to confront the consequences of every decision he made while chasing answers instead of protecting his daughter. And in a moment of raw vulnerability he utters words he can never take back, binding Lucy to a painful truth that reshapes her understanding of her family forever. As the shock return of a figure long presumed gone sends panic rippling through the city, their presence confirming that someone has been manipulating events from the shadows, feeding information, erasing evidence, and pitting enemies against one another with surgical precision. And as that person delivers a chilling monologue, three truths spoken softly but with lethal certainty, alliances shatter in real time, breakups occur without raised voices, and love proves powerless against the gravity of betrayal, while Nikki, pushed beyond endurance, finally slaps down Victor's most ruthless plan, drawing a line she never thought she would, only to realize Victor anticipated her resistance, and has already enacted a contingency so brutal it leaves her breathless as Sharon confronts the man she now believes orchestrated Nick's final moves, demanding answers that come wrapped in half-truths and veiled threats, forcing her to choose between justice and survival. And as Adam watches it all unfold with dark fascination, he seizes the moment to make a power play so audacious it rewrites the Newman hierarchy overnight, blindsiding Victoria and forcing Victor to acknowledge, if only privately, that the son he underestimated may be the one who understands him best. Even as the investigation barrels toward a breaking point with an arrest that feels premature but necessary, a confession that collapses under scrutiny, and evidence that goes missing at the worst possible time, pointing to a mole embedded deep within the system, someone trusted, someone grieving, someone no one wants to suspect. And as the walls close in, Phyllis realizes the trap she set has snapped shut on the wrong person. Lily confronts the devastating reality that her instincts were right but her silence complicit. Jack must decide whether exposing the full truth will save lives or ignite a war he cannot control. And in the final, harrowing moments of this chapter, as Genoa City holds its breath, a last voicemail from Nick plays. his voice steady, resigned, and heartbreakingly hopeful, revealing that he knew exactly how this would end, that he accepted the cost, and that the truth, once unleashed, would change everyone, leaving the chapter to close not with resolution but with a promise etched in pain and power. The reckoning has begun, and no one, absolutely no one, will be spared. The next chapter surges forward in a breathless, relentless wave as Nick's voicemail continues to haunt Genoa City long after it ends, his final words echoing through living rooms, interrogation rooms, and sleepless minds like a prophecy fulfilled too soon, forcing Victor to retreat into a silence more dangerous than rage as he realizes his son didn't just anticipate betrayal but engineered exposure, and that realization hardens him into something colder, something resolute as he orders a private reckoning that bypasses law, mercy, and even family, while Nikki, shaken by the unmistakable clarity in Nick's voice, finally understands that love without truth is just another form of violence and begins quietly preparing for a future where standing beside Victor may no longer be possible, even as Sharon, clutching the object Nick left behind, pieces together a timeline so precise it proves Nick knew the exact moment everything would implode, knew who would panic, who would lie, and who would try to clean up the mess, and when she confronts the person she now believes pushed Nick into that final corner, the air between them crackles with unspoken history and restrained fury, their exchange laced with truths that cut deeper than accusations, because guilt, once named, can never be denied again. Meanwhile Phyllis, unraveling under the weight of unintended consequences, races against time to undo the damage she helped unleash, only to discover that Genoa City does not reward second thoughts as Daniel turns away from her in quiet devastation, his faith in his mother fractured by the realization that her war for justice nearly destroyed his child, while Lucy, hardened by loss and betrayal, makes a chilling declaration that forces the adults around her to confront the generational cost of their secrets, and in that moment, Phyllis sees her reflection not as a fighter but as a catalyst for pain, as Lily, cornered by evidence and conscience, finally admits to Devon that her fear of losing everything made her complicit in a lie she no longer controls, triggering a reckoning at Chancellor Winters that leaves Nate exposed, Billy vindicated but hollow, and the company teetering on the edge of collapse, its future now hostage to truth rather than strategy, while Jack Abbott, faced with the irreversible consequences of silence, chooses transparency at the worst possible time, releasing information that detonates across Genoa City like a controlled explosion. Gone wrong, implicating allies and enemies alike and forcing Diane into damage control that may cost her the very family she fought to reclaim, as Kyle's earlier choice comes back to haunt him when Victor confronts him with chilling calm, making it clear that betrayal is remembered long after forgiveness is offered, and as the pressure mounts, Mariah's case takes a devastating turn when a witness recants only to be discredited, leaving her trapped in a narrative she cannot escape, and Tessa, torn between loyalty and truth, makes a decision that saves Mariah legally but may cost them emotionally, proving that love can survive betrayal but never without scars, while Adam's audacious power play reaches its apex as he publicly positions himself as the stabilizing force amid Newman chaos, shocking Victoria and forcing the board to acknowledge that perception, not bloodline, now dictates control, and though Victor outwardly resists, his eyes betray a reluctant pride as he recognizes the ruthless brilliance of a son who learned too well from him, even as law enforcement closes in on what they believe is the final answer. An arrest that sends ripples of disbelief through the city and splits public opinion, because the accused does not fit the monster everyone imagined, and as protests of innocence collide with mounting circumstantial evidence, Sharon uncovers one final inconsistency that proves the truth is still being buried, leading her to an ally she never expected and a risk she may not survive, while Nikki, pushed past endurance, makes a choice that will redefine her marriage forever, choosing to protect the truth even if it destroys the man she loves, and in a private moment of brutal honesty, she tells Victor that Nick didn't die because of enemies, but because of the culture of fear Victor created, a statement that lands harder than any slap, as the city braces for fallout, relationships fracture under the strain of exposed motives, a surprise kiss ignites scandal amid mourning and a hidden camera surfaces, its footage incomplete but damning, revealing a struggle, a voice pleading, and a moment of hesitation that changes everything, and as the chapter races toward its final moments, the real architect of the chaos steps fully into the light, revealing that Nick's plan succeeded beyond measure, that the trap was never about vengeance but revelation, and that the truth, ugly, complex, and irreversible, will finally be known, leaving Genoa City, standing at the edge of a future no one recognizes, as this chapter closes not with peace but with a devastating certainty. The lies are finished, the cost is permanent, and the next truth to emerge will destroy what little remains of the past.